What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. I am here with one of my very special friends, Dr. Jenny Bruck. We are going to be talking about building culture in your practice and how to take care of your team during these crazy COVID times. So Jenny, if you want to introduce yourself to the listeners, and then we will dive into it.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Nick. It's great.
Thanks for being here.
I'm a chiropractor in Amherst, New Hampshire. I'm in my 24th year of practice. I have a very pretty solid, high volume, wellness-based cash practice, and just been plugging away here. I've done a lot of speaking in my career, but in the last 5 years, I've been mostly practice focused and just, trying to build the practice of your dreams and keeping it going.
Well, Jenny, I always love talking to you. Like, we're in a mastermind together. We've worked together, and it's just like, you're such a pleasure. You're always in a good mood. And so I'm excited for like my audience to meet you and to get some of those positive vibes, because I always feel better after talking to you. So,
well, Nick, you're one of those people that like, you kind of exude this level of energy. And maybe a lot of people feel this way, but I feel like it's easy to be in a good mood around you. You know what I mean? Like you magnify my natural good mood. So I feel like when we're together, there's like this cool energy that it's cool that we can share that with people.
That's right. It's just like this, it's like this flywheel effect where you make me in a good mood, I make you in a good mood. So it all works out. Yeah. You should find more people in your life like that.
Oh, that's the key to everything. Like that's it. Like you build your energy. Yeah, absolutely.
So we were on, we're in UAC together, which is our mastermind. And they put together like this Zoom call where people were able to share some of the things that were helping them kind of traverse these times. And some of them were okay, and some of them were good, and some of them were great. And I thought yours was the best one because it was like something that I hadn't heard anybody talk about. And it was what you were focused on with your team and how you were really pouring into them. And I'm just like, yeah, that's the secret for sure. So I wanted you to kind of share some of the things that you're really helping, and just kind of basically share the information that I heard, because I think more people need to hear that.
Sure. If you've followed kind of some of the greats in chiropractic over the years, something I've heard many people say is you are your practice. If you don't like your practice, you got to look at yourself. Right. And I've really tried to live by that. And when my practice goes through periods where it just kind of feels flat, I like, where am I flat? Like, where do I not have energy? And I think one step past that is you are your practice, and then your team is a reflection of who you are. Right. So there's an art to hiring well, and there's an art to training. But bottom line is your team, you're the leader. Your team's going to reflect where you are. So investing in yourself is first and foremost, but then investing in your team, to me, is the most important thing to do to really build the practice that you want and to attract the kind of people that you want. So, one thing that I think's come to fruition during this time of kind of pandemic crisis is that my team has always functioned from a high level of purpose. So we didn't have to scramble to find purpose in this. Mm-hmm. We didn't even have to like remember what our purpose was. If anything, we just stay kind of on the path that we've been on. So I think having a foundation of purpose is huge. And I think there's an opportunity here. If you find things are falling apart, it's showing you where your contradictions are or where you're lacking purpose. And, we'll all go through phases. We all go through personal stuff, and we go through being able to really focus on our team and our practice. So this is kind of forcing everyone to stay focused. And so I think that's kind of the blessing, is that it's showing you kind of where your team is and where you are in practice. So I was really fortunate to have a team that's super on purpose right now. And we had actually had a team switch a little bit. We had a longtime team member had left early February. And this is like something beyond what you heard the other night, but it's kind of relevant. Yeah. So on top of a longtime team member leaving, and we had recently hired someone about 4 months ago, there's a 2-doctor practice right now, and my associate doctor, I think it was March 9th, got into a horrific car accident, and he actually fractured his C2 vertebrae. Yikes. Yeah. So miraculously, he survived and he is not paralyzed. He has no neurological deficit. However, and he won't need surgery. He literally got to sit there, and a surgeon, top surgeon at 𝗲𝘗 in Boston, said to him, there's a little bit of this bone connected. I think your body can heal this. I think we need to give your body time to see if it can heal this without surgery. So, hallelujah. Yeah. So my poor doctor has been in a hard neck brace since, early March, and that will continue through mid-June. So on top of everything going on, I had to go back to the only doctor in the practice and the only adjuster in the practice. So what's been...
And you were, I think you were a little humble earlier. Like, you see a lot of people in your practice.
We've been as high as 1,000 visits a week, but in the last 5 years, we've stayed around the 400 to 500. That's kind of the sweet spot. I personally like to keep the practice at a level that if I had to do it by myself, I could.
Yes.
So,
but let's not act like it's 80 people a week. Like, it's regardless of where you were at some point, it's a lot of people that you're having to see by yourself.
Well, and honestly, if you add in freaking sanitizing the tables every single adjustment, it's like doubling your volume. So I think we can all agree that we've all doubled our volume, even if, say it's gone down 30%, but then you doubled what's there. We're all seeing more than we're used to, and from an energy perspective. So partly because of all of this, so we lost a full-time tech CA, and we lost our secondary doctor. So now we're left with 2 massage therapists. One ended up deciding not to work during this time, which we supported based on family. So 1 massage therapist working, me, a full-time office manager who's so solid, and then a 4-month-old front desk assistant. So that's the team I'm dealing with.
They've been with you for 4 months. They're not actually a baby.
Correct. Although it kind of feels like they're a baby when they're right? Because they're new to chiropractic. They're still trying to understand, what is this innate intelligence? It's all new. So I only kind of lay the scene to show that even without a pandemic, my team had to be solid, and we had to be on purpose just to function in a normal state. So probably the best thing that I did was in the very early stages of this game. So we're talking March 16th, that, right around there. I noticed quickly that there was a lot of anxiety about not knowing what is happening and not knowing what we should be doing in practice. There wasn't a lot of clear guidelines. So after talking to my state board, I called my malpractice care. Nobody really could give me solid answers. What do I do if a patient calls in and says, I just got tested for COVID and I'm positive and I had adjusted them 3 days before? What do we do? What do we do if a patient's failed? There was so much unknown. So the best thing that I did at that point is, I'm a natural researcher and I need information. More information has always been what helps me feel less anxious. So I called the state health department and I said, can I ask you some questions? And I got the sweetest woman who was so patient with me. And I was able to leave that phone call and type up early in the game, a document of, this is what we will be doing. So this is our cleaning protocol. This is what we do if a patient calls and says this, if a patient calls and says this, this is, you interrupt me during an adjustment if this happens, but if this happens, you can just wait till the end of the adjustment. So I was able to create a document, and then I sat down with my team. We had a big meeting that Monday, and I presented that, but the more important thing, because we've all done that, right? The more important thing that I did was, we had a really frank discussion about, we had to be taking care of ourselves individually. And I just asked the team to start taking care of each other like a true family unit. I want you to check in with her, and I want you to check in with her. And even on the weekends, I want to check in with each other physically, mentally, emotionally. I want to feel like we have each other's back. And, this is also in the same week that we lost a doctor to a horrific accident. So we were all lost, meaning he wasn't working at the time. He's doing okay now. But it was a high intensity time for us. And what was great about this vulnerability to just decide as a team to take care of each other and to support each other, taking care of ourselves individually, was something shifted even deeper for us as a team. Just this commitment that we're in this together and we're going to take care of each other. So out of that conversation was, what do you think you need? What do you need? So things like my office manager no longer has asthmatic symptoms. Like, she seems to be doing great with chiropractic, but with a history of asthma, we decided as a team she would stay in her office as much as possible. And so she took over answering all the phones. And that left my front desk can be completely not having to answer phones. She could only focus on interaction with patients. So that was something we did. Yeah. I also kind of figured out where the holes were in each of their ability to take care of themselves. So I purchased a whole bunch of supplements, and I gave them each like a basket of supplements that I knew they needed. So everyone had vitamin C, everybody had vitamin D. Yeah. We talked about adjusting frequency. So I upped their adjusting frequency, and we talked about what days they would get adjusted. We all had a discussion, and we agreed as a team that weekends were going to be the hardest. So we all made a commitment that on Sunday nights, we would all go on a media fast and literally not look at the news, and we would not look at the news Monday morning. So from like 8 o'clock Sunday until we got to work, we were only focused on being in our right mind and staying healthy. One of the team members started sending out a morning meditation. And so we all committed to spending 10 minutes every morning doing this meditation. Then we discussed it at our huddle. Every single huddle since then, we do just a check-in. So this is like your opportunity. How are you feeling today? You know what? I kind of feel fearful because my neighbor said this, or, I was getting some flack because I wasn't wearing a mask and I don't want to wear a mask, but how do you feel? So we like super open discussion as things kept evolving, like truly just how are you feeling? Yeah. Which the thing that's interesting about that is I've always had a very strict leave it at the door mentality with my team. Like if they need to contact me outside of hours, like, hey, just want to let you know I had this thing happen this weekend. It's really taking me off my game. I'm going to do everything I can to be in my right mind. Okay, talk it through. Okay, if you need a hug when you first, so we've always done that, but you walk through that door like you are patient service focused. Yeah. So we've gotten a little more sensitive about that. So huddle, now we start huddle a little earlier to allow time for this, but huddle is a time for us to talk about our fears or our concerns or what's been happening, and we get it out. Part of the reason it's easy is there's not as much to huddle on because we're not doing as much exams. We stopped doing new patient exams for a month. We actually are back on it, mostly because I lost, a lot of my team. But yeah. So really our huddles have become more of a emotional check-in time. Mm-hmm. I also, honestly, I have a pretty non-dramatic team. Like it hasn't been that, it's been what we're all dealing with, but it's been nothing overly difficult to deal with, just maybe extended family member concerns and, the stress of being home and, having kids at home. And
yeah. But I also think that's part of your leadership and like the team reflecting who the leader is like, you're like the most not dramatic person I know. So it would be weird if somebody was being dramatic probably in your practice.
Well, thank you for saying that. But honestly, I work at that. Like, I wouldn't say that I was born a non-dramatic. I mean, I'm just a normal person. I've never been overly this or overly that, but you should see me at home. Like, I am so strict about protecting my energy. Like it's insane. So I have an awesome fiance. He's a total researcher. Like he loves reading health articles and watching videos, but he has a job that's not in the health sector. And so he can't do any of that till he gets home from work. Yeah. So by the time I get home from work, I'm done. Like if I'm going to look anything in the news, I'm going to do it in the morning or at lunch. Like it's not evening. So it's 8 o'clock at night and Corey will be like, hey, did you see this article with COVID? And I'll be like, no, 8 o'clock, you can't talk to me about anything, even if it's positive. I don't want to hear anything you read. I don't want to hear, unless it's a true emergency, right. I'm done. Yeah. And so that took a little bit of really teaching my family and protecting myself. But you have to, you have to find that balance.
Absolutely.
And, going to bed early has been a good thing for me, but I've had to protect myself. Even honestly, as a chiropractor, we could easily go down a hole of conspiracy theory that very possibly is accurate, but it's still going to mess up our mind because we don't really know what's happening. Do you know what I mean? So I'll have these moments where I like that
you act like it's a possibility, as if every person that I'm friends with on Facebook has not gone down the same rabbit hole.
I know, but it's your moment. I'll be like, are you kidding me? They took that amazing video off, YouTube just censored that video. What the heck? And I'll have these moments, but I have to stop at a certain point because one, if I can't control it in this moment, it's not in my immediate life. I have to I have to be the person I need to be for my patients. Like I can't, and I really avoid talking about things like that at the office. Because I have to stay in my calm mind. So I'll have my moments, but like you have to keep it in check. Or if I was home all the time and that's all I was focused on, I think that creates a lot of anxiety. A lot of anxiety.
Sure. Idle hands,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let's get back to so you're doing all these things with your staff, and let's kind of keep down that path.
Okay. So, here's some other things that I'm doing that are a little more individual. So I'm really trying to find ways to support them, because a supported staff, like what that will pay you back, like the energy they'll bring to serve the patients, like taking care of them is the best investment you're ever going to make. So I've gone a little bit above and beyond. So just some examples. One of my staff, she's got, kids at home, and it's hard for her to get out. Money, of course, is a little tight right now. So I went to the local farm store and I got 2 bags of groceries for her, like all the amazing meat and cheeses and eggs and farm milk and all of that. And I just brought it over to her house on a Saturday morning, and she was like, what, and just kind of stocked her up with things I knew she needed. Some pre-made stuff. I had a team member who, because we're also focused on being healthy, those memes, those jokes about how I've lost all this weight and I've done all these things, and everyone's like, just kidding. No, it was literally, that's been happening. My 3 team members, the 3 of us, the main ones, we've all lost weight. I've lost 12 pounds since this started, just because I'm like actually really focused on everything to be healthy. So my one team member, like literally her pants were so baggy on her. And I'm like, what's going on? And she said, all my pants are baggy, but I can't like really go shopping. She's like, I'm not going to go to Target. So I called up a boutique in our town. Like we have a little town that has a cute little boutique downtown. And I know the owners, and I know this team member has shopped there quite a bit. So I called and I'm like, are you doing like any type of curbside pickup? And they're like, well, yeah, what do you need? So I told them who it was and how she'd lost weight. And they're like, oh, okay. So I know she buys this size, so she's going to be this size. And I know her shape. Okay. You know what? I do have a pair of jeans I think would be great for her. Paid for them online, did a curbside pickup, went to her house. They fit her perfectly. Nice. They're a dark jean. For the women who know, dark jeans, you can wear them practically every day. Like, so that just like boosted her spirits. Now she's getting all these compliments because, clothes fit her. Like little things like that. Like it goes such a long way, just checking in. The other thing I've done is we have, many restaurants that have, meal delivery now. And this one winery that we take care of the owners, they're doing like family size, it's really cheap. It's like $55. It's a family of 4, like a big meal with all the fixings. So on Thursdays, I've been having a big package delivered for each team member, and they deliver right at the end of shifts. So every team member can count on being able to take like a family size meal home every Thursday night. And that supports the restaurant, supports a couple $100 a week. Like it's, to support the team in that way. That's been really good. If
my girlfriend listens to this episode, which she doesn't listen at all ever, but if she does, she got really excited when she heard family size from a winery. She thought maybe you were giving them Magnum bottles of Cabernet or something. So
you actually can order wine delivered. Pretty awesome. Just trying to help out.
That's right. So I think that's amazing. I just think that everybody is very concerned with like taking care of their patients, getting people back under care, and I think you're right. I think that there's no better investment than your team to like be on your side, to like be in the fight with you. Because I think a lot of times offices view their teams as just like a tool to help facilitate the practice, but really it's like they're in this shoulder to shoulder with you. And the teams that I see, because I have a lot of insight into a lot of different offices, and the ones where you can like feel that from the team, those are the ones that are usually the biggest practices and the best run. And because if they're all just waiting for you to like bark orders at them, they're not going to be super motivated to go the extra mile.
Well, and Nick, just my work with you with Leverage, which has been amazing, how specific I was about language and about how I wanted my ads to read, because we are very, very, very clear on who we are and what we believe and what we stand for. And even this, certain, like we don't use the word treatment in our office. Like it's like almost a bad word because to us it's too medical. So we have, a very specific vernacular and a very specific way that we view things. And so teaching that to the team. So this is, I think, valuable to hear. So our Courtney, she's my newest hire. She's now she's 5 months in. Honestly, we're so focused on all of the trainings and how do we manage this and making phone calls to patients that 3 weeks went by and we hadn't had a philosophy training. So we're pretty strong we do team trainings. We added philosophy trainings, procedural trainings. And sometimes I forget, because she's been so strong, that she's very, very new to chiropractic.
Yeah.
So there was a moment where I overheard her talking to a patient and I thought, wait, what did you just say? And at first I was kind of feeling upset. I don't remember what it was, but I was feeling almost upset. Like, you did not represent. And then I stopped and I thought, she has no idea. Like, she doesn't know what she doesn't know. So
right.
It's not her fault. It's my fault that she doesn't understand this principle. So, and it had to do with sanitize, it's so hard because it's so contradictory, all of the cleaning and the sanitizing. And I get it. We're following CDC guidelines. I understand the importance of it. It's not that it doesn't make sense, but it does contradict an inside out philosophy.
Right.
And that all of a sudden we believe we're helpless, germs are going to kill us, versus we're a strong host. My body can handle, my body even has benefit from some of the germs. So there's kind of this break in contradiction that you have to make sure there's some clarity. Like, we're going to do it smart, but yet we also believe that Louis Pasteur says the microbe, it's not everything. The host is everything. Right. So I mentioned to my office manager, I think we need to come in early Thursday and do some more philosophy training. This was last week. And so we met an hour early and we literally just had an hour-long discussion about what are germs, inside out thinking, outside in thinking, what can we control, what can we not control.
Mm-hmm.
And we just spent an hour talking about it, giving examples. And I can't even tell you how much she's elevated in who she is, because she's a sponge. You want to hire sponges.
Sure.
But you have to make sure that you're teaching them. So another thing that we do that we've been pretty strong on is we read in huddle. We'll take 5 minutes and we'll read some type of educational philosophy book. So like right now we're reading Joseph Strauss's Enhance Your Life Experience. Mm-hmm. Great book to read with your team. Another good book to gift to patients. It's all inside out philosophy. It just goes back to some basics, and you can't get enough of it. Like, even people who've been with you a long time, team wise, like going back to innate philosophy you'll always benefit from it. So we try to keep something like that always going, so I sent her home with the book to read in advance. I'm like, I want you to read this book over the next week or two. And she's like, okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's hungry for the information.
Absolutely.
Now, like, now that she's been opened that door, and now it's like, she's probably searching it out herself. How often, or how much time per week do you spend training normally?
2 hours.
2 hours. And that's what you're doing right now as well?
No, right now we're only training for an hour. The other hour I'm doing patient phone calls.
Gotcha. Yeah. What are you doing in the patient phone calls?
So we're keeping pretty good lists about, people who have called in to say they're going to pause care until a certain date, people who've called in to say they're going to pause care and they want to pause payments, because most people do automatic payments with us. Yeah. People who haven't called, but they haven't shown up. Like, we have kind of all these lists, and then we have a system in our computer to know if we've contacted them. And so I just have my ongoing list of people we haven't seen, people and even if they've called and said, I'm not going to come in, I am just making about, I'd say 50 phone calls a week. Even people I've called once, like I'm calling again, because so if we started around 400 to 450, we're seeing around 250 to 300 a week right now. So there's a good amount of people that, have called and said, I'm just not going to come in for a little while.
Sure.
So I'm calling them, and this is pretty good, by the way. I wrote this all out for my associate, because now he's back in the office and making phone calls for me. But
nice.
The first thing I'm saying is, to diffuse any type of, why they're not there, because, they're going to defend themselves. Yeah. I'll just say, hey, Nick, it's Dr. Jenny, your chiropractor. Totally understand you're not coming in right now. I get it. A lot of people aren't. I just wanted to call and touch base with you because, I'm still your doctor. I care about your health and how you're doing. I want you to know you can talk to me. Just tell me what's going on with you. How are you feeling these days? So ask questions like, have you been well? Have you been sick? Are you working from home now? Tell me about your home setup. Do you have a computer setup? How are you doing that? Okay, how's your mental health? Are you managing this okay? How are you doing? Do you have the support you need? And it's so interesting. First of all, almost everybody answers the phone, which is never used to be like that, right?
Right.
So people
you call them any time of the day, they'll answer the phone.
People are answering their phone now. And it's shocking to me how people want to talk. They're so happy you called. And once you kind of diffuse the whole, I understand you're not coming in and we're not, I get it. It's fine. Just like, I just want to know how you're doing. People are like opening up like books. Like they're just so happy to talk to somebody.
Right.
And one of three things happen. They either say, well, when everything lets up, I'll let you know. Or they say, you know what? I think I should come in. Can I come in? They change their mind, even though because they just feel comfortable. I'll mention, did you know we actually are open? And did you see our email about what we're doing to the office to keep it safe? And, sometimes people are like, no, I didn't see an email. What are you doing? And I'll tell them. And then once in a while, I'll have somebody say, wait, you're open? No, I've just been really busy and I assumed you were closed. Okay, I didn't get any. Okay, yeah. And then they get excited and they make an appointment to come in. But, worst case scenario, they're still not coming in, but they're connected.
Oh, I think that, how you're showing up in these times, regardless of whether somebody wants to walk in your office or not, how you're showing up as their doctor, like this is the opportunity to firmly plant in their mind that you are their doctor. You are there to help them with their health, not just to adjust their spine for $50.
Exactly.
And a lot of offices that didn't have that feeling already, or that thought process with their patients, now's the time to do it, because at some point people are going to leave their house. And it's like, if you just deserted them in their like biggest time of need, then, maybe they don't think worse of you. They didn't think that you should have done that. But the people that you're reaching out to, and I mean, you already have that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, is just like the culture in your practice. Your culture is already amazing. So like they almost like expect you to be reaching out, I would guess. But with a lot of offices out there isn't that expectation. There's just kind of like, well, it's my chiropractor. But if now you're starting to step into that role of like, I want to be the person who guides you through your health, that's a very different relationship on the other side of this. Because I think this could really be a golden opportunity for chiropractic if we talk about that, if we step into that role, instead of like spending all of our time debating whether CDC death rates are correct or not. Like that is not going to build your practice. You're just like all these like conspiracy theories and Bill Gates is the devil. And it's like, fine, like believe that, like talk to your friends about that, but it's not going to help you build your practice on the other side of it. What's going to help you on the other side of this is pouring into your patients right now on what they need and being there for them, I think.
Well, and you can personalize it. So, I'd pull up each person's file and look at it for a minute before I called them. And so then when I call you, I can say things like, so Nick, I know you work at Fidelity, so I assume you're still essential. Okay. So, but are you working from home like most Fidelity people right now? Okay. So tell me about your work setup. And, Nick, I know that in the past you've really utilized yoga to stay healthy, but I know that the studio's closed. Have you found a way to do yoga at home? And he'd be like, no, I don't know what to do. And then I may be like, oh, well, I can send you a couple websites that I think it's been really good. Or, you know what I mean? So there's conversations and I can be like, I know last month you got a mattress. I'm so glad you did. I bet that's helping. How's the mattress go? Do you know what I mean? And I know you have an older parent living with you. Is she doing okay? So like there was a way to like make it as personal as possible. And then when you take your notes about your phone call, you can specifically say home with an ailing parent, working from home, working on getting a better chair, hasn't started yoga but wants to. So then if 2 weeks later they haven't come in, you can call up and just say, did you ever figure out the yoga thing? And how's this? And how's your mom? Like it's just a way to keep it personal. Yeah. Honestly, I can tell you, and maybe I don't know if everyone's like me in this way, but when I spend an hour doing those phone calls, I feel so good.
Oh, I bet.
Connecting with people, like it's probably my favorite part of the day. And I do it before shift so I can just focus on that. And it's pretty fantastic.
I'm going to do that for leverage because I don't have like patients anymore, but I'm going to do that for leverage, like people that I haven't that I've done strategy sessions with, or maybe were clients in the past, and just like reach out and just be like, hey, how's it going? I just think that everybody, the more connection you can create right now, the more supported they're going to feel, the better they're going to feel about your practice. And so, because again, like at some point this is going back to normal. So like what's going to be their feeling about you when they go back to normal, and they open back up, and it's like, are they rushing back to their regular life, or are they going to try to improve their health? Because there's nobody that's sitting at home right now that's not wishing they were a little bit healthier.
It's true. And the other thing that I've done, I think's helped, is that when I'm talking to people, if I can sense they'd like to come in, but they either consider themselves or someone in their home higher risk, or they're just really nervous, I've offered to people that I can schedule them before the office officially opens or after it's closed, because it's more sanitized. There's no one else around. I have an actual private door that comes in right near an adjusting table. So I would say 5-6 times a week, I have these like special times, but people are so appreciative. Like there's a way to bug in and bug out quickly. They don't have to see anybody else and they feel more comfortable. And just giving people that option has really brought quite a bit more people in.
That's awesome. I love that. One thing I did want to talk to you about was I always thought that, and I think right now, you know how I feel about content marketing. I feel like, this is the time to be like talking about not just like conditions, but about chiropractic lifestyle. So before all of this, like, when you were a client, you'll always be a client in my eyes, but the structure that we have is built a lot around conditions, because that's usually what people are, when things are normal, that's what they're concerned about, is like my neck pain, my headaches, my low back pain, whatever. But you were the one client that always was just very specific about like, I want to talk about these things. And what was funny is, because you were so strong in that and so rooted in that your content always got more interaction than almost any other clients, because it was so authentic to you. So I just wanted to, because I think right now, your kind of content is what needs to be out there. Your kind of content is like whatever it is that you believe in terms of like strengthening the host and living a healthy lifestyle. It doesn't need to just be about the conditions that you treat. It needs to help them be as healthy as possible. So can you talk a little bit about like how you think about content marketing and creating content to help like lead your tribe?
I got very clear very early in practice, especially choosing to not work with insurance companies from day one, that we did not want to be a symptom-based practice. So because we didn't want to attract that, we didn't ever want to market for that.
Right.
So in 24 years, I've never once placed an ad or anything that said neck pain, back pain. Like, it's just not something we didn't do. Yeah. What we wanted to create was a wellness family practice. So the way I looked at it is, even if people originally come to you with a crisis, headaches, neck pain, back pain, they want that to go away. But what they really, really want is to feel amazing and be super healthy and vital. Like, that's what people really want. So it's okay if they're attracted to care because they're finally like, they just can't function anymore. But even somebody who comes in specifically just with back pain, what they really, really, really want is to do all the things they want to do. They want to feel great, so we kind of bypassed the obvious symptoms and just kind of went straight for, don't you want to have a ton of energy? Don't you want to feel great? And the thing is that no one is excluded from that.
Yeah.
No one.
You don't need to have a symptom to want more energy. Right.
Exactly. And, every single person in your family, would qualify for care based on the way we present why you would get adjusted. So that's kind of always been the way we've focused on it. And so any advertising we've done has kind of gone back to the root of, what do we want out of life? How do you want to live? What type of experience do you want to have? So it's always gone back to a bigger picture, I would say. And it's always gone back to, this is the way we view how health really happens. Yeah. You don't get healthier just because you manage a problem. You get healthier because you invest in yourself. So going back to that, there's a lot of videos we did on how to have more energy, how to feel younger, how to enjoy being in your body, just more vague and more broad. Yeah. Just kind of the way we've always approached it. But I think, like, whenever I would watch your videos,
I would feel that like energy from you that you loved talking about it.
Yeah.
Cause there's a big difference between like you're forcing it and you love talking about it. Like it's what you talk about every day. And that's what I tell clients. I'm like, listen, we have this structure for you so that you don't have to think about it if you don't want to, but I would much rather you talk about the things that you're passionate about in every video, because that really comes across and it attracts the people that it's going to attract.
Well, it was kind of an interesting exercise making the decision of what to shoot in the video, because I would sit down with my associate doctor and we would say, okay, what do people really want to know? And what do people really want to hear beyond the basics? And sometimes it was almost so simple. Like, for example, my son, he's 19, and he helped out with filming some of the videos. Yeah. And I remember we were sitting there and we did a lot of them off the cuff. They were all one take. We kind of decided that day what we were going to do. It was very like spontaneous. It's just well for us that way. And I remember we're sitting there and I'm like, we really need another video. And my son said, I have an idea. And we're like, what? And he said, well, when I talk to my friends, the biggest pushback I get, and this is 19-year-olds, he said, is they're afraid to know. If they come in, they're going to have to know and find a problem, and then they're going to have to deal with it. It's kind of like you don't want to go to the dentist, because if you go, it's like opening that can of worms. You're going to find out you have 3 cavities. You're going to find out this, and then all of a sudden it's going to cost money and you're going to have to fix it. It's just easier not to know. Right. He said, but the problem with that is they don't know how healthy or how good they could feel or how. So he said, I think you should talk about that. So we spontaneously just did it. We did a video like that, and it was actually a really popular video. It was really shared because it's the thing nobody's talking about, right? Yeah. But a lot of people, it's on their mind. So it's kind of interesting. So just
I love it. And again, that's, I talk about story brand a lot. It's like, you talk about the things that they care about, not the things that you care about. Like when I say, I could feel like that it was authentic to you, but it wasn't like you were talking about you. You were talking about the things that they cared about. It was just the things that you were passionate about. Yeah. So there's a difference in the framing. It's like, just because you like talking about it, if no one cares about it, no one's interested,
Like I don't necessarily love these types of videos, but it's what people want to hear. Like there was, we did several videos along the lines of, you go to a doctor to fix something wrong, but then it comes back. So this whole thing, you have to go to a chiropractor, but if you start going, you have to keep coming back. So we did a lot of discussion around that, like, because that's an outside in medical way to think versus, well, how do you think about nutrition, and how do you think about dentistry, and how do you think about going to the gym? It's not something that you would say, well, sure, go to that gym, but they're going to keep wanting to come back. And if you stop, you'll probably lose the muscle mass. Do you know what I mean? So we kept talking, along that line, because it's all reframing. It's helping people see things in a different way. But the thing is, they innately get it. So when you start speaking that way, people are like, I think that way. I get that. Like, that makes sense. Like, these people are really thinking about it the right way. They're thinking about the health the way you should. And I'm sick of just going to doctors when I hurt, and they never actually make me healthier. So people, they yearn for that. Like they want the level of healthcare we can provide. They see, I'm getting excited because I'm talking about it. They want it. Like when we reduce ourselves to just talking about neck pain and back pain, like we're putting ourselves on the level of a treatment doctor, a medical doctor. We're not really glorifying the true healthcare that we can provide people. Exactly. What we have is so special. Yeah. It's so special. And insurance has reduced it down to something that's very medically acceptable. But chiropractic is so much more, so much more than that. And when we allow ourselves to speak about it from more of a philosophical, what the body is capable of doing, people yearn for that. Yeah. They're starved for that.
That is true. And I also think that, when there are so many chiropractors that talk about that kind of thing in their practice, like one-on-one with people, but it's like, you have to be creating the content to put it out where the people that don't know that you exist, that don't walk into your practice, so that they can hear it. That's how you attract that tribe that is looking for that type of leadership, is you've got to put that content out there and, put it out, put the stake in the ground that you believe in. Mm-hmm. But,
and I don't think you'd be disappointed on how people would respond.
I totally agree. Another piece of content that we were talking about before we hopped on here was the book that you wrote. And I always love it when chiropractors write books, is basically like a way for, that way you don't have to like explain everything. If you just hand them a book, it's like, here, read this. And then that's a very different, like the next time they come in, it could be a very different conversation. So tell me about the book that you wrote and kind of the purpose behind it.
So I've always had a pretty strong gifting program in my practice from the get-go. So for example, when someone signs up for care, we gift them a book. And for years, we've used Terry Romberg's Chiropractic First book because it's a really great, like basic what chiropractic is book, and answers all the questions about like what's our schooling and what's all that. And then for me, I like to gift, and we have postcards that we'll send them along the way. We have a kind of a whole strategy, a whole written out thing. And then for me, at the end of the first year of care, as they're going into year 2, I like to gift them another book. So just to give it perspective, 87% of my practice has been with me 3 years or more. And 15% of people have been with me 15 years or more. So I have a pretty it's my retention's through the roof. Yeah. So I'm in it for the long haul with people. So what I find is that at the 1-year point for us, I always struggled to find the right book. And, then it's expensive. You have to pay full price. There's not a lot of books you can buy in bulk. And so I've used different books over the years. But I finally was like, well, why don't I just write my own book that I give to people? Right.
Yeah. Right.
And then other chiropractors who are doing the same thing as me can do it. So what I did was, it's called 52 Vitality Tools, Daily Habits to Build Your Bounce. I've always been a speaker. I've always done a ton of speaking, and, we're talking over a lot of years. So I have, PowerPoints up the wazoo. So I went through this kind of tedious process where I went through every single PowerPoint that I had. We're talking at least 50. And I asked myself, okay, if a patient never heard me give that talk and they said, what did I miss? Like, what was the most juicy things? Like, what are the things I wouldn't necessarily know? Like whether it was about sleep or nutrition or chiropractic or stress management, what are the couple things that like were the juicy stuff? And so I started documenting them. So after all of those workshops, I basically had like all these tidbits, and I made the top 52 into a tool. So I also know people don't really read. Like, to pick up a book and read is not every single person. So this is like more of a coffee table book, and that like you open it up and there's like, it's like that long. Nice. And it's a tool. So there's sleep to heal, enjoy dark leafy greens, keep your head up, let go of stress, give a new habit time to stick, choose organic, all that kind of stuff. It's somewhat basic in some of them, but the information always has something that's like, oh, I didn't know that. Infused in here, though, about a third of these pages are strong chiropractic philosophy. And they don't necessarily say chiropractic. They say what the bigger picture behind chiropractic. So it's all about the way you think. Sure. So the goal was that you could pick it up on any page and just read that page, right? And then what I do is I gift it to my patients as a way, for them just to have a bigger sense of how to take care of their body. And what's really fun is, obviously I've had the book for a while now. So somebody will say, ask me a question about something. I'll be like, you have my book, right? I'm like, it's number 14. Read tool number 14. So they'll go home and like read tool number 14. But it's, like anything, the book's $12.95, but if you buy in bulk, it goes down and down and down. So you can get a book for like less than $5 if you buy it in bulk. So I have chiropractors around the country who'll order 100 books, 50 books, 400 books, and they automatically mail. Or I always recommend mailing, because to get something in the mail that's not a bill always feels really special to people.
Especially packages,
Yes, it is. I mean, you can hand it to them at the table, but it's just another way to increase their philosophical headspace that, is beyond what they're experiencing in your office. Yeah.
I love that. Have you have you seen the ads that I'm running right now for the Never Lose a Patient Again thing with Joey Coleman?
Yeah.
Have you read that book, Never Lose a Customer Again?
No.
Oh, you would love it. You would love it. It gives like what's that?
Who's the author?
Joey Coleman.
Joey Coleman. Okay.
So I recommend that all chiropractors should read 3 books: Building a Story Brand, Never Lose a Customer Again, and Jab, 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 Right Hook. And the Never Lose a Customer Again, it's because so many chiropractors, they're so worried about new patients but they should be worried about like what you're talking about is like, how do I keep those people for 15 years? And so he has a process. It's an 8-step process of how to basically manage the first 100 days of a patient experience and how to create an amazing experience. And I know you would love the book, but you should be on that webinar. I don't know if this is we're going to probably have like a landing page set up for it. But anyway, so like you should be on it though. It's next Tuesday, May 5th at 7.
Okay.
I think we're going to put this out after that, or maybe it's on May 5th when this episode comes out, but you should be on it because I think you would really like it because it's got each step is like one of the things that you could be doing is gifting. And I liked it because I'm like a real like methodical person and I like things to be laid out, and it's just like such a structure for it, but it's just the right way to think about the patient experience.
Just from a financial standpoint, the gifting investment that you make is such a small fraction of what you might spend on marketing. Yeah. And when you invest in your current patients, one, they're going to refer, they're going to bring in family members, but even if you just solidify their chiropractic philosophy and they become a lifetime patient, when you look at it from an income strategy, I was able to have an entire month with no new patients. And I've never, ever, ever not accepted new patients. Never. But I lost my 𝗲𝗃𝗃 and my doctor, and it was only me adjusting and all I was just like, I just need to stop. And our income went down proportionally with the number of people we were seeing, but it was a blip. Like it was fine. I don't rely on new patients to keep my practice going. You know what I mean? Because I have such strong, and if anything, it was quite remarkable. Because we're cash, we do care programs. I can't tell you over the last month how many people it was time to kind of renew for their year. And we're talking, they're going on year 18 or year 12. Right. I can't tell you how many times people said, I'm just going to pay the year in advance. I'm sure the doc would appreciate that. Like people were throwing money at me because they wanted to support me.
Right.
Like, incredible. And because these are people that know they're in it for a lifetime. They just want to make sure that I'm okay. Just like I'm going to restaurants and buying gift cards right now. It's the same thing. And
that's a completely different mindset than what I think a lot of practices out there are. So what's the best way if they want to get the book to give to their patients? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can order it on Amazon. So you can go to 52 Vitality Tools on Amazon. If you want to do it in bulk, just contact me. Probably the easiest way is through my website, which check out my website. It's pretty cool. It's 𝗏𝐶𝐶vitality.com. And anywhere there where it says contact me, that goes straight to me. But there's even a link for the book on the website as well. But I just email with people and kind of figure out how many books they want. And then I just send them a PayPal invoice.
Well, as I knew this would happen, I ran out of time to be able to talk to you about like building the culture of the practice. I know we touched on it a little bit, but I've always been, I'm going to have you back on at some point to like really dive in. Cause I always think like the talent show idea and this, you always have like the coolest ideas of how to just build community in your practice. And I think that a lot of chiropractors are hungry for how to do that. So I'm always like, I'm always envious of all the ideas that you have for that kind of stuff. But for right now, is there anything in particular that you would say to chiropractors that are maybe out there a little bit worried, numbers are down? Like, what would you say to them to kind of help get through these tough times?
Honestly, if you're thinking to yourself, man, I haven't done a good enough job. I've lost so many people because I haven't put enough focus on philosophy. If you're literally at that end of the spectrum, this is the time to first go inward. What do I really believe? What do I think? Even if you have to go back to philosophy texts or connect with chiropractors and just kind of get your head right. Once you have your head right, honestly, I think it's being vulnerable. I think it's literally like being vulnerable to your team and your patients and being able to say things like, this whole thing's really reminded me what this is all about. We are true healthcare leaders. And in times like this, it's most important to be taking care of your body and the health of your nervous system. And I want to do a better job helping people remember that, understand it. I've just decided to recommit to our in-office workshops when we can do them again, or I'm going to start webinars, or I'm just going to do a daily online article to read, or whatever it is, like just re-energize the whole concept of why are we doing, what is our purpose in a chiropractic standpoint. And honestly, if you feel like you've never really had your purpose, or it just feels so far gone, there's so many amazing leaders in chiropractic right now doing seminars, doing webinars. You know, we're good friends with 𝗲𝘀 and 𝗵𝘃𝗶𝗹𝗆. He's doing a great job helping chiropractors get focused again on how to build a practice with purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many things out there like that. Sometimes you just got to invest in yourself, just get connected with somebody. As simple as making a couple phone calls. Hey, remind me why we're doing this again. Like, reach out to people to help.
Yeah.
My former associate doctor is practicing alone now, and she's been calling me every week, like, help talk me through this again. What, you know, because we need to support each other. We can't always be there all the time. So it's connection.
I totally agree. And I think that there are so many people in the profession that are really like doubling down on putting more content out there, being more accessible, having availability to where it's like, get in there and start mixing it up and connect with people, even if it's not, you know, it doesn't have to be in person to get the information. Like you can watch a webinar, you can jump on a call with somebody and still get that value.
Well, and I can tell you, Nick, just that night doing that UAC call, I felt so inspired. Like, we're so alone right now. Like, it feels very isolating. And especially in practice, if you don't have an associate doctor on purpose, or you don't have friends or family members into chiropractic, like, if you isolate long enough, you'll forget your purpose.
For sure.
No,
that's why it's so nice to be part of groups in chiropractic, regardless of like what you believe. Like the UAC weekends, I don't know how much I ever really like learn from them, but I just love being around everybody, you know, and if I learn something, you know, even better, but it's really just about hanging out and having a good time.
But can I say, I want to repeat this. The thing I learned on that night, 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗃 decided to send out postcards. So I actually already created them and ordered them. He said he made a postcard that says on the front of it, "We are essential and so are you."
I like that.
And on the back was your office hours, and just send it to people you haven't seen. Like, how that was brilliant.
That's so good.
Brilliant.
That's so smart. So smart. Well, Jenny, I super appreciate your time. I know people are going to get a ton of value out of this, and it was such a unique angle of really turning into your team and really pouring into them. And I think that if more offices do that, they're gonna see a ton of success. So I always love spending time with you. I can't wait to hang out with you again in person, and we'll see you guys on the next one.